Welcome in day oneers to the Day One Football Podcast. It is your host, Colin Aram, with Day One Big Mike and the Day One Daddy, Stephen King. And this is episode number 19. And if you're wondering why we missed a second episode last week, is our audio went completely fucky and we lost it all. And we had a host. I thought it was a pretty good episode, to be honest, and we're probably gonna have him back on this week, but regardless, we're going to jump into some week 4 stuff. So we have some A1 news first. Then we go into have a day segment, as always, for the first episode of the week. Then we hit up the waiver wire ads. And I don't know if you guys wanted to do those early projections still, because I don't see it on the list anymore. But if so, that'll be at the end probably. Mike, How are you?
I'm good. Had a good weekend of football. Played a game of football on Friday, and safe to say I am a monster out there. Recorded 3 touchdowns, a couple pass breakups. You know, this big body got a bit moving. But how are you doing, Steve?
Pretty good, Mike. You remind me of Aaron Donald out there. I've watched you play a couple times, and you're just a menace out on the field. The only difference is you're actually sick on offense too. You don't have hands, but you look good. That's all that matters, right?
Hey man, I do about a 10-yard out, and then the ball's just waiting there for me. So that's all I got to do.
Future Mo Cox of some average Joe football monster. Yeah, you pancake anyone?
I ran a kid up the field, but he probably weighs about 100 pounds soaking wet, so it's not really much of a pride thing, but oh well, who cares?
Who is it? Who is this 100-pound man?
Be Johnny Spackman.
You ruined Spackman?
Oh yeah, just ran him up the field.
Spackman, if you're listening to this, fuck you.
Yeah, you got to run the damn ball. That's all that matters. You got to pancake guys sometimes. You did your job. You knew your role.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into that A1 news. So let's do injuries as always, because that's the best time of the whole episode. First one on the list. I didn't write this myself. Mike did. So Mike, I'll let you say the first one here.
All right, so the first injury was actually a podcast injury. It was not me this time. It was Steve, and it was his pride got a little injured because he did beat me in DFS, but in every redraft league that we were in, I just laid a beating down. Steve, what are you going to do to come back from this?
I'm starting by dropping Matthew Stafford. He, not that he was bad for me, wasn't good, but my team is dominant. My teams are dominant, and I will bounce back. Both of these leagues I should be fine in. Got some pretty big matchups this week, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, I'm upset, but all that matters is DFS, because that's where you win the real money. So I'll take my win on DraftKings, and we'll have to go at it again this week. Colin, do you have DraftKings? I'll throw you in a draft with us.
I do not, but maybe I'll have to do it so I can join you guys in it.
Well, this time we're actually going to put money. The last one that we did was just free to enter. This one we're going to be putting a whole $1 or something on it. So
that's a lot of money. I don't know if I may have to back out.
Hey, watch out for us big rollers.
Just on top of this pride thing, I know you guys wanted to throw in at the end last week when I was like, Colin, what's your record this so far in fantasy? I was like 1-5. I'm 4-5 now. Won 3 straight. Just took some kids to the woodshed this weekend. It was awesome. Felt great. Hit 200 points cool. in a league. It was unreal. But let's move on to this first real injury. So I don't know if anyone watched the Dallas Cowboys versus the Seattle Seahawks. I know I did. And when I saw this play, it made me want to puke. But Chris Carson was alligator rolled for no reason. And he has a knee sprain, luckily, because it looked a lot worse at the time. Mike, I know you have a little more detail on the whole situation.
Yeah, so they came out and said that an MRI showed no significant ligament damage, which means it probably is a level 1 sprain, which he'll probably be fine. He might miss a week at the most, and maybe deal with some pain, but overall, very good news on that. I did watch this game, and that was absolutely disgusting. There's no place for an alligator roll in football. And if in case anyone doesn't know what that is, it's basically when the guy grabs one of the player's ankles when they're on the ground and tries to roll with them and pinch the other leg. It's really not that great. I also watched that guy absolutely detonate Russell Wilson. I'm surprised there was no fines or suspensions, but Steve, you got anything to add?
No, I think you explained it pretty well. It wasn't. It wasn't a nice play to watch. It definitely was a dirty play. I'm sure the league will be watching this guy in the future. But yeah, not much more to say than I think you covered it pretty well, Colin.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. So Chris Godwin had a pretty he had a pretty productive day, I thought, for the most part, and then unfortunately in the second half, he was taken off for a apparent hamstring injury, and they're saying today that he could miss multiple weeks. So Gronk actually showed some catches, but I don't know if there's any second option you really want to throw in your fantasy lineups moving forward. Mike?
Last year when Godwin went out, I believe Justin Watson played 93% of the snaps. And he actually wasn't terrible. He wasn't great. Like he's no Chris Godwin, of course, but maybe look at picking him up. They do have Scotty Miller. I think this is wheels up on Scotty Miller. But yeah, he had 5 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. He missed about the last 20% of the game, but Steve, what are you thinking? I know you love Godwin.
Yeah, I actually watched the injury happen. He was just running down the field and looked like he pulled up a little bit. So I thought it was cramps because it was closer to the end of the game. But yeah, definitely not good. I own Chris Godwin in a couple leagues, and like you said, he was almost at 15 fantasy points before he went out. So I was pretty happy with the production. But him being out definitely hurts all my teams. I'm going to say that Scotty Miller would be the guy that I'd want to start if I had to. I'm going to look elsewhere. We're going to talk about some waiver wire guys later on. But if you need to, Scotty Miller's there. Poor Chris Godwin and poor lineups for me after Mike destroyed me this week. So, Colin?
Yeah, I don't know if I trust Scotty Miller just after what we've seen before. But yeah, even like I said, Gronk had 6 catches on 7 targets, which was after saying he's gonna be like, I'm all about blocking now, guys. And then he goes and actually has a decent week if it was like PPR. But yeah, I wouldn't want to touch anyone besides Evans really. But let's move on to the next one. This one comes into Philly. No surprise here. They can't catch a break with their offensive weapons at all. Tight end Dallas Goedert. Small fracture in the ankle, and he'll likely to miss a few weeks. Obviously, he was placed on IR. So this bumps up Ertz and maybe Greg Ward, but we'll touch on it with Mike. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I really just see this helping Ertz. I think he'll get more targets and maybe a guy like JJ Arcega-Whiteside. I mean, they said they wanted to use him in the offense, but basically the ball's been going to Goddard and Ertz. With Reagor being out too, maybe it's J-Jaw season. I doubt it, but Steve, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I really don't want anybody in this lineup at all. Deshaun Jackson just got hurt. I know I don't think we're going to bring him up because it's Deshaun Jackson and he really hasn't done too much this season. But he pulled up with a minor strain as well. Goddard's done. I think Ertz is pretty much the only play at this point on the team. And if you have to choose, if you somehow have Fant and Ertz both rostered, like I would probably pick Fant at this point, even with the unreliable QB play of Rippin. But yeah, don't touch anybody on that roster. But I just wanted to follow back on Mike Evans. You brought him up, Colin. Did you see his stat line?
Last week now.
Mike, did you see Mike Evans'
stat line? He had a touchdown, right? He had a touchdown, didn't he?
Before you guys say anything, Mike, did you see his stat line?
I don't think so. I think it was...
Wait. Steve, was
saw
it
a
like
couple
6 for
touchdowns,
8
but
and like
oh
touchdown?
no,
Mike Evans
oh god,
had two receptions for
Oh,
2
2 touchdowns.
yards and 2
Oh
touchdowns.
yeah, I did see that. 2 touchdowns, 2 yards. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, at least he's a red zone target. Big body, 6'5". He gets up
So
there.
so you did say, hey, you did say, start Mike Evans because Chris Godwin's going to be gone. But I mean, are you going to rely on this guy to get more than 2 yards in a game?
That's a Jordan Howard stat right there. Negative yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, I was thinking this guy's
Productive.
more. Yeah, it sounds like a New England running back almost, like a
No, a New
LeGarrette.
England run. Hey, no, a New England running back would just be Tom Brady just going for a QB dive at the line.
No,
He
it
wouldn't even
sounds
he
like a
wouldn't even pass it off.
LeGarrette Blunt or something.
Jesus.
But yeah, we
I'm
can we
sure.
can move on. I just
I'm
wanted to
sure
bring up Mike Evans' stat line. So
I'm sure Joe Ho is okay with it. He's getting touchdowns weekly. But yeah, so let's move on to the next one. We don't have to really touch on this one, but Gruden came out with concerns about Ruggs' hamstring. So it doesn't really matter fantasy, I don't think, really at this point. He's a rookie and he hasn't really produced yet. Just gives more targets to, Wallard and Jacobs and potentially Brian Edwards because he actually had flashes of like goodness so far. So we'll move on to the next one.
By that you mean more targets for Renfro, right? Because he went
I
absolutely
forgot
off.
about him. Dude, he had a sick catch actually this past week. But yeah, you're right. I forgot about your boy. 90 targets this year, 90 catches.
90 catches, he's on his way.
So yeah, move on to Jordan Reed here. It was a knee sprain, I believe. After I said knee injury on the report, but I'm pretty sure it was a knee strain. He's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks per Kyle Shanahan. He had a pretty productive week. That he had 7 catches, I think, for like 52 yards and a touchdown, if I recall correctly. But Mike, any thoughts? I know this whole this is the same situation as the Philly Eagles. Basically, like their whole situation with just throwing the ball right now is looking pretty grim.
Yeah, it's your typical Jordan Reed game where he finally does well and then he gets injured. But that's really all I got to say about it. Steve, you got anything else?
yeah, the biggest thing for me, obviously, you knew Jordan Reed was going to get hurt eventually, and it sucks because he looked good. But just wanted to bring this up. If you guys are in any redraft leagues and Debo Samuel went undrafted, he is back in practice and he is expected to right now play in this upcoming week, which could be huge. I think it's depending on Jimmy Garoppolo, though. I'm not starting Debo in his first week back, but I think he could be a stash for the upcoming weeks. Um, they have Miami in week 5, so I think that would be a good play for Debo. Colin?
Yeah, let Mike say this one since it hits home for him.
Yeah, the Bears extended Tariq Cohen last week or 2 weeks ago, and he goes out and tears his ACL. Not the greatest thing, but if you're a Montgomery owner, I'd definitely be almost happy. I know obviously you don't want to be happy with an injury, but if someone's low on Montgomery, like this past weekend, he didn't score a touchdown. He rushed for 45 yards, but it just wasn't really the game script for him. They might be a little pissed off, so maybe try and get him on the low end, and they're it. I think he goes off this week. I think Indiana is not really that great of a team. I think the Bears will hopefully have a lead with Nick Foles and pick up David Montgomery and maybe even throw a flyer at Cordero Patterson if you got an empty roster spot. You guys got anything to say?
No,
No.
not me. So yeah, let's move on to Jared Cook suffers an ankle injury. I didn't write this one in. I imagine, Mike, you have more details on this overall.
I actually did not write this in. Maybe
Steven, have you read this one?
I didn't write this one in, but I saw that he left the game early. He left the game with a limp. I haven't heard anything about the severity of the injury, but I know that he did get hurt. I'm not targeting anybody specifically to pick up because this offense doesn't look that great other than Alvin Kamara. So Kamara is the benefactor to this injury. But yeah, I don't really.
Steve, what about your boy, Emmanuel?
Yeah, he actually
He had a touchdown.
Yeah, he had a touchdown and 4 receptions, 56 yards. Not a bad game. Not a bad game. Still a flex play, and they're playing the Lions, so I still think he'd be a decent flex play. But definitely, I was hoping wide receiver 2 with upside when Michael Thomas went down, but he's only been a flex play for me. So, but I'm still good with Sanders in my lineup.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a video right now. It just looks like he stepped on a guy's foot, so it's probably just an ankle sprain, but
Rolled his
nothing
ankle on
too major.
another guy's foot.
Yeah, probably, I think.
Foot and foot crime.
Yeah. I'll talk about the next one, and it was Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts. He suffered what they thought was an ankle injury, but it was actually a what's called a leg compartment injury. Um, so basically, to explain this a bit, because you guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about, your calf has like little compartments throughout it, and basically he suffered almost internal bleeding into these compartments. And basically, what can happen? If it's mild, it's not a big deal. You can just watch it. But his sounded serious, where he went into surgery right after, which means basically it was a major injury, and that can tighten up the muscle in your calf, and you can actually lose feeling in your feet, in your ankle. It can realistically cause an amputation if you don't do it quick enough. Which obviously he went straight into surgery, and he's probably going to be fine. It'll probably be a couple weeks before he comes back. But honestly, a really scary stuff. But it sounded like he was okay. Sounded like the surgery went well. But yeah, some scary stuff this week. Just nothing new with all these injuries, eh?
No, it sounds insane. I didn't know it was that severe. Steven, any thoughts?
It sucks that it actually happened, but I mean that wide receiver core is not looking good with Paris Campbell done for a while. Pittman's going to be gone for a while, and now you have Zach Pascal, who is the clear number 2 behind Ty, and Ty isn't playing well. So
Whoa. Mo Ali Cox is the number 2.
no, Miley
He's our guy.
Cox.
Mo Ali Cox is a thing. He's a thing. We're going to make him a thing.
He is.
No, he's terrible.
Monster. Anyways, let's just move on. So Devontae Johnson is in concussion protocol. He looked really good actually for the most part, and that's unfortunate that he's going to miss some time most likely because he did look good with Roethlisberger. So, Mike, any thoughts on Devontae Johnson's injury?
Yeah, Deontay Johnson actually showed some promise these past couple of weeks, and I mean, a concussion is really is not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, it should be, but he'll probably be fine to play this week. It's not like they play the Thursday. They might have.
Oh, they moved to Monday.
Oh, so they did move to Monday officially. So that even gives them more time. So that's good news, Steve.
I don't think he's actually going to play. He's still in concussion protocol, so I don't think he's going to play this week.
I think Godwin was in concussion protocol till like Friday almost last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he got hurt. He got hurt really late, didn't he? Yeah, Godwin jumped on the report late because it wasn't severe. This guy left like mid game and didn't come back.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Who knows?
So if he Godwin was only in concussion protocol for like 2 days, and Deontay Johnson has been in concussion protocol for 2 days already. So
yeah, he's not a real football guy. Then he has no mental toughness.
I would say
obviously it's very severe. It could be really severe. You never know. His concussions are so unknown, really. Like you never know how long one could last, and it could be minor, it could be major. You have no idea. So. You're right, Steven. It could be long term, could be short term. You have no idea. I guess we'll play it by beer and wait out in the week. But we'll move on to that next one real quick. Jared McKinnon, rib injury. I actually don't know if this is like serious or not. I heard it was day to day, so I don't think this is really gonna affect him. I think he'll play Sunday. But do you guys think any different on this
No,
potentially?
just a bruised ribs, like a rib contusion, shouldn't really be a big deal. More just pain management, Steve.
Yeah, same thing. But if he is slightly injured, um, Jeff Wilson had a big game, so keep an eye on Jeff Wilson. If he's on your waiver wire, maybe grab him.
Did you guys look at his stat line?
Jeff
It
Wilson.
was a big 1.3 yards per carry, but
Kalen
maybe even take a
Labage there. Balaj.
yeah,
It's all
maybe
Balaj
even
right
take a
there.
look at Jermichael Hasty possibly. But Steve, you can continue.
But yeah, I would say that Jeff Wilson would be the guy behind McKinnon for right now because he's just had the most reps on the team. So Colin.
Jermichael Hasty, 2 attempts, 9 yards, 4.5 yards a carry, 1 catch, 9 yards. Let's go. It's time for that guy. But we'll move on. So last one on the injury report here. Chark underwent a test on his chest and back injury that held him out of Thursday night's football match. Doesn't look good, as written here from Mike. So Mike, what doesn't look good about it?
It's just really what I read on Twitter is that this isn't good news. It was seen as a minor injury. They haven't really given a diagnosis yet. No one really knows what happened, but for him to undergo further tests the week after, it sounds like it's not a great thing. But I mean, he underwent tests Monday. It's now Tuesday, and we still haven't heard anything. It's usually not a great sign, but yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. Steven, I doubt you have anything to say, so we can just move on to the actual football news, which affects your Broncos that are playing Thursday night, and I'll let you talk on it. So you have Brett Rippon starting. Who the hell is Brett Rippon? And tell me why he's going to win you a football match Thursday night.
Well,
Over Blake.
The only reason why he would actually win is because they're playing the Jets. He played last game for the fourth quarter, and he went 8 for 9 for 53 yards and an interception. So I'm not too excited for Brett Rippon. He was on the squad last year. Didn't play at all. He was I can't remember. I think he was a late round pick in last year's draft. I think I remember correctly. But yeah, I don't have high hopes for the Broncos offense. They just lost a starting offensive lineman, Wilkinson. That was yesterday, so that's not good. That's another starter that they lost. The only upside for the Broncos right now is potentially Philip Lindsay could be back for the Thursday game, but don't start him. I mean, it's the Broncos offense and they stink. So I'm okay with moving on because I don't want you guys to just destroy my team. But if you guys want to talk Thursday, if you guys want to talk the Thursday night game, go ahead.
I just fact checked it, and he is actually undrafted, Steven, and he's been with you guys since 2019. Good Bronco fan over here. Knows
hey,
no.
I got his stats pulled up. He didn't look too bad in college. He went to Boise State. Got that sick blue turf. He
Gross.
threw the ball at 67% for 3,700 yards, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He, in his career at college, has 2 receiving touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. So not the most athletic guy, but feels like he can sling it. Steve?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not super like Colin. I couldn't remember. I think they did draft a guy last year, like super late. He must have been a cut, or he's on the. All I know is Rippon was on the squad last year, probably the practice squad. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not too amped about him starting. Obviously, could be worse. Could have Baker Mayfield as a starter. So. Anybody else? Do you guys want to talk the Thursday night game at all?
Good.
Hey, he had the best QBR rating this past week in the AFC North. So Baker's back. That's all I'm saying.
What does the R stand for?
QBR rating. Like it's technically a rating. Like the R is the rating. QB rating.
So you just called it QB rating? Is that what you just called it?
Well, for those that didn't know what the R stood for, I just said it after.
And Steve, your late round quarterback was in 2017, and it was the infamous Swag Kelly. But
Who's with the Colts
honestly,
now?
this Thursday night game sounds like it's gonna suck. I'll be watching it because I'm addicted to football, but it does not sound like a good game.
You guys gonna start Melvin Gordon?
I can't wait to just look at Gase on the sideline the whole time and watch him not smile at all.
And good news for all the Jets the Jets fans out there. It's said that if they lose, Gase is gone. But answering your question, Steve, I would start Melvin Gordon against the Jets because the Jets stink.
You guys gonna start Jerry Jeudy?
Is he playing?
I am. I started him this past week. He had 11, 12 points like that in PPR, so I'll play him again as a flex for sure.
Okay. Well, you have Brett Rippon now ripping the ball, so Melvin Gordon and Jerry Jeudy are your only two starts probably in the whole game, right? You're not Noah Fant, yeah. So you have three start. Nobody on the Jets side. Not even. I think Crowder's probably still a no-go.
It says he's trending up, but I mean hamstring is not a great thing.
Okay, can we move on? I don't want to talk about this stinky game anymore.
What about Barrios? All the fake names they have a wide receiver over there. The Jets.
Didn't they?
Barrios.
They had an unknown player last week on.
Yeah, it was Lance something. I listened to him part of my take. I heard it.
Yeah.
Lance Scalding. It was like a fake name or something like that. You had no idea who he is. We'll just move on. I didn't write this one down, but luckily I saw it on Twitter just now. The Eagles actually took a wide receiver off of a practice squad, Hakeem Butler, and they're moving him to tight end apparently. 6'5", 227 pounds, and ran a 4.4 in the 2019 Combine. He's a fourth-round pick by the Cardinals last year. Maybe he has – you're not going to start him this week, but maybe he could be a guy to look out for moving forward.
So for those of you that survived the Cardinals talk with Jack – he did talk about Hakeem Butler. He's not the reason why the Cardinals cut him is mostly because he doesn't play special teams. He is athletic and is good. I guess he could work out at tight end. I mean, if he's on the field, he's not blocking. So, Steve?
Yeah, he was actually I'm pretty sure Hakeem Butler was supposed to be a pretty high draft pick, and he ended up slipping in the draft pretty far. From what I remember, he was a wide receiver. I didn't know that they were going to move him to tight end. And Colin, who did you say you got picked up by?
The Eagles.
The Eagles. Okay.
Because they literally need anyone to throw the ball to them at this point.
Yeah. I mean, but do they need a tight end? Like, I could see wide receiver for sure, but...
Well, I imagine he's going to get the ball a lot if they picked him up, and they're going to move him to basically he's basically going to be the new Goddard, I imagine, for the next few weeks.
So he had 60 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 9 touchdowns in his last year at Iowa State. I mean, that's pretty solid. So
yeah, okay,
maybe
it'd be interesting to see. He might have some value. He's a big guy, and like I said, he ran a 4.4. So
yeah,
we'll see.
It's worth a shot.
Before we go there to the next point that we have written down, I'm gonna just jump to the next one. Mike, Nick Foles has been announced the starter for your Bears. So let's just hear what your thoughts on this one.
Loved it. I know I'm a Trubisky guy through and through, but I mean, Nick Foles came in and won the game for the Bears. They were down huge to the Falcons. I wasn't too happy about that, but you know what? He got us back, and Matt Nagy was looking for an opportunity to bench Mitch, and Mitch gave him one. So I'm here for it. I'm always Bears number 1, fantasy number 2. So I hit a huge parlay on the Bears and the Bills. But you guys got anything to say about Nick Foles?
At what point do the Bears sign Sam Bradford to start?
Honestly, pretty soon.
The despair in Mike's voice there, where he kind of like crackled at the thought. He's like, I don't know, probably. Oh man. Okay, I don't have any thoughts. It looks like he's the guy, so we'll see how long he lasts. Because I think Foles has more power when he's brought in to be the guy, not just like starting Nick Foles. But as we've seen with the Eagles and in the Jags, he wasn't very good as the starter. But we'll see. Um, hit or miss with that one. So let's do this last one. So unfortunately, some COVID is finally leaked into the league. The Titans have 8 confirmed cases, and the Vikings who just played them this Sunday are isolating due to this. As we said a little earlier, Titans and Steelers will be moved to Monday. I don't think there's been any word about the Vikings playing. I think I forget who they're playing, but I don't think the Vikings game's moved from Sunday to Monday yet. So we'll see how that goes throughout the week. But as of now, the Titans and the Steelers will be another Monday night game. So I think that's kind of fun. So I actually prefer watching Steelers probably next Monday night because I don't know who the Monday night game is, but I'd rather watch the Steelers anyways. Did see some Big Ben injuries, the flops. Gotta love it. Yeah. Any thoughts on the whole COVID situation, and do you think it's going to get worse? I think it'll probably happen in baseball, so this is bound to happen, and I think they'll be okay. But Mike,
The Monday night actually isn't terrible. It's not Giants. Packers and Falcons, 2 decent offenses, so should at
2
least
bad
be
defenses
entertaining.
too.
Oh yeah, like points.
Shootout.
Take the over already. But I'm actually surprised we made it this far without COVID leaking into the league. So I'm thinking that the NFL is a juggernaut and it'll just keep going. But Steve, do you have any doubts on this?
I'm actually pretty upset you guys said that Green Bay's defense was bad because Green Bay's defense is actually really good. So,
I'll never say anything good about them.
yeah, Green Bay's defense is actually pretty good.
Really, it didn't look that great against the Saints, but sure.
No, they are actually a really good defense. They're one of the top defenses in the league, in my opinion. But I don't want to talk the Packers up too much because Packers fans suck. So I believe I heard the Vikings actually got tested and they were all negative. So that should be okay. I think they're still self-isolating. But yeah, that's all that I've heard other than what you guys already brought up. So we can move on, Colin.
The Nashville folk need to calm down. Stop that partying. Don't need this to happen. We need our football. But yeah, it's the end of the news segment, so we'll jump into Have a Day. So yeah, Have a Day segment. So we'll start as always with the QBs, our top 10. Patrick Mahomes, number 1. Mr. Unlimited, number 2. Josh Allen, number 3. Dak, 4. 5, Goff. 6, Fitzmagic. 7, Rodgers. 8, the GOAT, Brady. I don't know why I called him the GOAT. I actually regret saying that already. But 9, Drew Brees. And 10, Kyler Murray. Mike, who do you want to pick? And we'll go from there.
I'll go with Dak Prescott. He looked okay in his game. Nothing too great. Seattle's a good secondary, so for him to throw for 472 yards is kind of ridiculous. He did have 2 picks, but he continues on his rushing trend. He had 6 attempts for 24 yards. I think he did really well. I am really high on Dak. I was really high on him to start this year, and he's proved me right. But Steve, your guy?
I'm just reading through the list, and everybody knows like Patrick Mahomes number 1, Russ number 2, Josh Allen number 3, Dak number 4. Like these guys are all expected to be top guys, but Jared Goff probably one of the most underrated fantasy QBs in the last couple of years, and he's been last year he was 13th in fantasy for QBs, but the year before that he was 6th. So I'm actually starting to get on the Goff train here. I think that their run game is getting slightly better, and I think their offensive line is much better this year than they were last year. And he has those amazing weapons. So Jared Goff, if he's on your waiver wire, which I actually am trying to pick him up, hopefully before you guys listen to this, it goes through. But yeah, I'm trying to get Goff. I think he's going to be great this year, and he's been playing lights out. So yeah, that's Colin. Go ahead.
I'm gonna pick Fitzmagic just because I love it. I love that he's still going and still kicking around. And he had not the greatest day, but like completion wise, he was pretty spot on, 90%, 18 for 20, only 160 yards, but 2 touchdown passes. And the surprising thing was he actually had some rushing ability, 7 attempts, 38 yards, and a touchdown. He looked pretty good against that Jags defense, which is pretty broken at this point, but I want to keep it going. I know eventually the wheels are going to fall off and he's going to throw 5 picks in a game and then Tua's going to come in. But I mean, I think we got a couple more weeks till that happens. So I'm going to keep riding him. I think I might put in a waiver claim for him today just to have some security with my dynasty because I have some young QBs right now, like Herbert and Danny Fumbles. So might pick him up just for shits. And we can move on to that running back situation. So number 1, Mr. Alvin Kamara. Number 2, Rec Burkhead, which is crazy to me. 3, James Robinson, which I called last week on the fake podcast that never happened. 4, Derrick Henry. 5, Eckler. 6, Dalvin. 7, my boy Nick Chubb. 8, James Conner bounces back. 9, Jeffrey Wilson, who we talked on earlier, 1.3 yards a carry, great. 10, Mike Davis, the guy that Mike also clowned on last week. 11, Darrell Henderson, and number 12, CH. Mike, you want to talk on your boy Mike Davis?
God, no, I hate that guy.
The Bears legend?
I'm actually going to talk on my boy. I didn't talk on him last week, but I think I'm kind of forced to talk on him this week, and that's Alvin Kamara. This guy is electric. He took a 52-yard bomb from Drew Brees that Drew Brees actually threw basically behind the line of scrimmage. And Drew Brees' arm is dead, and it's either he looks at his ex-receiver, Traquan Smith, who's never open, or he just dumps it down to Alvin Kamara. 13 receptions for 139 yards. That's ridiculous. I know people will be like, "Oh, but he didn't get rushing yards. Latavius Murray's taking that." I'll let him have rest. I don't care. Like Latavius Murray taking the runs up the gut, that's fine with me because Alvin Kamara is going to take every pass and every run outside where you can actually get points. So, Steve, your guy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk on Alvin Kamara for a sec. Like as much as people say that he only had 6 rushing attempts, the guy still rushed for 9.7 a carry, which is insane. And when you're talking fantasy football, receptions in half and full PPR leagues for running backs are way more important than rushing attempts anyways. Like if you can get, like, what did he have? I think we have 13 receptions, right?
Yep.
13 receptions for a running back, which is insane. So yeah, I love Alvin Kamara, and I'm not saying I wasn't high on him. I think I had him ranked like around 6 or 7, but the way that he's playing right now and the way that Drew Brees is checking down, this guy, oh my God, I am excited. I'm scared to play against him. We'll just say that. But I'm going to move on to James Conner. And I was high on James Conner. So was Mike. Colin wasn't too high on him early in the offseason. But back-to-back 100 rushing yard games and touchdowns. So he's put up 2 big fantasy weeks in a row. He had 18 rushing attempts. He was over 6 yards a carry, which is amazing. Big Ben has definitely helped his game out, and he's getting some receptions. Last game he had 5 targets, 4 receptions, 40 yards. So he's in the passing game as well. The only issue I see with him is 66% of snaps isn't bad, but when you're talking about a guy that you want to be your number 1 or number 2 guy on the team, you're hoping he gets around the 75% of snaps. So because he's not going to get 13 receptions like an Alvin Kamara. But I'm on the James Conner bandwagon right now, and then he's playing against Tennessee this upcoming week, and their rush defense hasn't been great. So James Conner, Colin.
I'm sorry. I had James Conner in my top 10 RB list. And now you want to jump on him? All right. Did we take I thought we made a pint bet about that too, didn't we? When I put him in my top 10? Or you guys roasted me for that. I know that.
He's not in your top 10 though. That's the sad part.
But he was ranked. He was 9th for me. No, I made.
He's
Oh wait,
11.
I made the thing that I could see him being in top 10. I remember we had that whole episode about that, and you're like, "There's no way. He's number 9 or 8." I'm like, "Oh, Big Ben's gonna help him," and he's doing it finally. And you know what? He's staying healthy too.
Yeah.
That first week looked kind of scary, but good for Mr. Connor. For me, I'm not going to talk on Chubb because I did last week, but I am pumped that he's just dominating still. I'm going to talk on Mr. Dalvin Cook, and this is just because of last week. They started using him late in the game, and then their dummy of an offensive coordinator, Kubiak, was like, you know what? We probably need to run the ball more. And it's like, yeah, no shit, man. You're also the offensive coordinator. You make those calls. And then they run the ball this week, and guess what? The guy puts up 181 yards and a touchdown and 2 receptions, which, I mean, normally he's more in the passing game, but I mean, I'll take it. Guy had a great game, balled out. He did fumble early, which was kind of scary, but after that, he just went off for like huge runs every time he touched the ball, basically. So 8.2 yards a carry. Dalvin Cook looks great, and you paid the guy the money, and now he's finally getting the opportunity to show it. And I think it's going to continue moving forward. Easily a top 5 potential, running back like in fantasy overall. I could see it easily, but yeah, let's move on to that wide receiver. So,
just once, you're not going to talk on your boy Austin Eckler?
No, but I did see him at number 5. He's electric. That's all I gotta say, Mike. He's making moves. So let's go into that wide receiver situation. So, wait, you know what? Before we move on to wide receivers, Steven, we got to play some sad music. It's what is happening to your boy, Mr. Joe Mixon? What is going on?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
I do want you to be honest with me.
I think you should buy him low.
You still think you should buy him low?
I think you should buy him low, and the reason being is he's still getting top end rushing attempts. He's just not performing right now. He's still putting up big attempts. Like he put up 19 week 1, 16 week 2, 17 week 3. So they're going to come. He just hasn't found the end zone, and he'll find the end zone. Trust me. So I'm going to say buy Joe Mixon low while you can, and he's going to get better days are coming. So
and he's broken the most tackles in the NFL, if I remember correctly. So he'll get there. He'll be fine. The line will get it together, and Joe Mixon will ball out.
Jacksonville, Baltimore, Indy, Cleveland, Tennessee, then Pittsburgh, and then Washington. Those are all very good, like rush heavy defenses. Are you not scared?
Stinks.
I'd be scared.
Cleveland isn't good against the run.
Yeah, they are. What are you talking?
Tennessee.
They're terrible.
Cleveland's great against the run.
No, they're terrible.
No, you're wrong, sir.
Poo-poo.
Who does Cleveland play this week?
They play Cowboys.
Zeke is going to be number 1 next week.
I don't know, man. Did you see me? Couldn't do anything against Seattle. He looked terrible. He looked terrible.
Zeke looked good.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. I watched that game. He looked garbage. He ended up having a productive week, but man, it looked bad for a long time.
Yeah, because he was through the air. He looked good. On the ground, he looked mediocre.
Yeah, couldn't do anything. But yeah, Joe Mixon. What would you, Mike? I mean, yeah, I'll ask Mike. 'Cause Mike, do you have any Mixon shares?
I do. I actually have 1 Mixon share.
Okay. I'll just put it out there and for everyone to speak on. What would you give as of right now for a Joe Mixon share?
So currently, I have a trade pending. The owner is thinking about it, and it's basically Josh Allen and a first for Joe Mixon, a startable QB. He doesn't really care who, and a third. So I thought that's pretty fair. I don't know, Steve. What are you thinking?
I'm
It's-
saying more like
it's-
straight up though. Like just
So
straight up?
If you're
Yeah.
talking straight up, I'm still evaluating Mixon as a top end. I'd say a back end running back 1. I still have him in that. I still see him finishing as, the 10, 11, 12, when before I saw him closer to like the 6 or 7. So I still
So,
see him there.
straight up, I'd maybe try and get like I don't know. This is tough.
would you give a
It all
third
depends
round
on the owner. For
straight
Mixon?
up for Joe Mixon? Would you give a
Oh.
third round pick for him?
God, yeah.
Would you do a
I'd pro-
second?
I'd give a first round pick
Yeah,
in a
I'd give a
dynasty
first
league.
round.
Oh, come on. No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I
You
would.
would not give a first straight up for Joe Mixon in Dynasty.
Yes, I would.
Yes, I
No, you
would.
wouldn't. No, you
If you're a
wouldn't.
competing team,
Dude,
yes.
Who are you gonna get in the first round that's gonna be better than Joe Mixon?
Every other running back that's coming in this year.
You're a fool. I want you to offer your first round pick to the Joe Mixon owner, and they're gonna laugh at you.
It's you. So no shit, you
exactly.
laugh.
We're gonna laugh. All right.
I guarantee in my keeper, I could trade a third round pick and get Mixon right now.
Do it.
I don't want him. I don't want that. I don't want that share.
All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to that wide
On this
receiver.
Joe Mixon slander.
So wide receivers: Tyler Lockett, number 1. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. Number 3, Cedric Wilson. Number 4, Alan friggin' Lazard.
Woo-hoo.
Number 5, A-Rob. Number 6, Gallup. Number 7, Keenan Allen. Number 8, Cooper Kupp. Number 9, DeAndre Hopkins. Number 10, Tyreek Hill. And number 11, Brandon Ayuk. Mike, you go. You pick first.
Wouldn't it be a change of events if I took Alan friggin' Lazard? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take Alan friggin' Robinson. He is probably the perfect receiver for Nick Foles. Nick Foles likes to throw a lot of contested balls. He takes a lot of chances, and A-Rob is basically perfect for him. I think Anthony Miller's a decent ad. I think that like Chicago pass catchers, you can probably buy them cheap. I think A-Rob looked great. 10 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown, and I can really only see that going up. So, Steve, let's hear Alan friggin' Lazard.
Alan friggin' Lazard. Okay, so this guy is absolutely insane, and I've been talking him up all year, and you guys have been shitting on me. And guess what? Look at him now. This guy is a top 10 wide receiver right now through the first 3 weeks. Now, all I said was he's going to be a top 35, 30. I forget what I said, but I said he was going to be decent. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to finish in the top 10 unless Devontae Adams is out all year, because there's no way he can stay there. But this guy's stat line, 6 receptions for 146 yards and a touchdown. Do you guys remember who they played? Do you
I
guys
don't
know
watch
who they played?
Packers, so
Saints.
no.
They played against the Saints, who actually have a pretty good defense last time I checked. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited for him. I'm going to tell you right now, if you own him, try to sell him high as much as you can, because he's not going to put up another 20-point week probably, unless Aaron Rodgers might do that one or two times more this year, but I wouldn't
Oh,
expect.
you're so low on your guy. You're not
I'm
hyping him up anymore.
No, I'm throwing him on my flex spot, and he's going to pop off next week against Atlanta because it's Atlanta and they stink. So I'm starting Alan Lazard in every league that I have him in, which is most leagues. So yeah, but as long as Devontae Adams is out, this guy is going to be insane. He's if you watch them play, he's not that quick, and you can tell that he's not that quick, but he always creates separation, which is insane. Like his touchdown, he was just wide open for no reason. He's not a fast guy. He had like a 50-yard reception down the field. He just blew past a guy, and he's not fast. I don't know how. I don't know what happened, but Alan Lazard, Aaron Rodgers trusts this kid, so he's going to keep throwing him the ball. That's all I have to say. Is he's probably already owned because he had a big week 1, but if you can sell him really high. That's what I'm going to do.
He also
Go
had a
ahead, Colin.
rushing attempt, which is really weird.
Yeah, it was negative though.
That's weird. Eh? Yeah, I know. That's why I'm looking at it. I'm like, that's a weird thing to just be like, here, Alan Lazard, you run up the middle. Just before I pick my guy, I also called A-Rob popping off this week. So that mystery episode, I wish we played it because the boom segment, I nailed both my guys. But I'm gonna pick Mr. Tyler Lockett, and you know what? It's because I have him in my keeper and my dynasty, and it was awesome just watching that game and seeing this guy just pop off. And I found a fun stat. I'm pretty sure he's like top 3 in touchdowns over the last like 3 years as a receiver. The guy is so underrated. No one really talks about him. I drafted him in the 6th round. Everyone's so high on Metcalf, but this guy, he's an animal. And I think he's gonna keep doing it because Russ keeps slinging. So I think there's both valuable, but Lockett he's his guy, right? He's his downfield threat. He's his slot guy. He loves just giving him the ball. So 9 catches, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. Gotta love it. I think he won't. Obviously, it was a shootout, but I think he still has a lot of production every week. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 10 again at some point. But let's move on to the tight ends. This one's weird, and I bet Mike is so pumped. Mr. Jimmy Graham from the grave returns to be an actual fantasy relevant tight end. Number 1. Then we got Tyler Kroft. Number 2. Number 3, Eric Ebron, a guy I projected top 10, which I don't think will happen, but he's up there now. Number 4, Robert Tonyan. And 5, Mr. Mo Alley Cox from Mr. Indianapolis. Mike, talk on your guy, Mr. Jimmy Graham.
I'm pretty sure it might have been in the mystery episode or maybe last week. I said to possibly pick up Jimmy Graham. And I mean, I was right. I didn't have him started in any of my leagues, but I have him in a couple. And basically, when they get down to the goal line, they do the same play every single time. They throw Jimmy Graham out wide on a cornerback, and he just boxes him out because he played basketball, if you guys haven't heard a billion times. Basically, every tight end played basketball. But he looked okay. He's still trying to figure out how to jump. There's been a lot of mistimed jumps where he's coming down as the ball's getting to him. It's very weird to watch, but I don't know. He looks decent. He looks slow as all hell, but that's fine because he's a tight end. Steve, your guy.
I'm gonna pass it on to Colin first because I don't know who he wants, and I'll take. There's pretty much 2 guys on here that we're gonna talk about, and I'll talk about the one that Colin doesn't want to.
I love Mo Alley Cox because we talked about him last week, but I'm gonna take Eric Ebron. So I projected him as the tight end 8 on the year. Very bold of me, but he was a red zone target this past week, and Ben said that he likes throwing him to the red zone. 5 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. So he finally has a relevant week in week 3. That being said, as we talked on before with Deontay Johnson potentially missing some time, that could be the case. He could be the second option through the air, at least for Big Ben, as he has Juju, and then he has him, and then he has Chase Claypool, and also obviously Washington as well. But if he's getting the red zone targets, I think he'll continue to have value moving forward. And yeah, that's all I got really to say about Eric Ebron. So Steven, you can go ahead.
So Mo Alley Cox, because Tyler Kroft, the only reason why he was there was the 2 touchdowns. He really didn't do much. 4 receptions for 24, and nobody cares about anybody else. So we'll go Mo Alley.
I don't even know who Robert Tonyan is, to be honest.
Yeah, Mike, who is this guy?
He won the job from Jace Sternberger out of camp. He doesn't really look that great. Typical big weight tight end.
He's a Green Bay Packer, eh?
Yeah,
Had no idea.
Yeah, he kind of came out of nowhere, and he's probably going to go back to nowhere when he doesn't score touchdowns. So, Steve, Mo Alley Cox, baby.
We'll jump on Mo Alley, and I'm as much as Mo Alley's out there, 50 yards for a tight end is pretty good. I mean, like I said, if you can get a touchdown, if you can get a tight end consistently getting 50 yards, and a couple of receptions, then you're going to be happy most of the time because 6-7 points regularly plus a touchdown in a third of your games would be very consistent for a tight end. So he's been playing really well the last 2 games, but you also have to remember my boy Jack Doyle hasn't played the last 2 games. He was active last game, but didn't see the field. So don't hype up. If Jack Doyle's not on the field, start your Mo Alley Cox because the wide receiving core in Indianapolis is very ruined right now. So I'm okay with starting Mo Alley until Jack Doyle actually starts playing again, and then I'm back on the Jack Doyle hype train. That's all I have to say about it. So, Colin.
He also played basketball at VCU. Bet you didn't know that one, but you learned it just now. Mo Alley Cox. All the basketball players go to tight end.
Jack Doyle did see 53% of the snaps, so he just was not targeted. The only targeted tight end was Mo Alley Cox. Does that raise any concerns, Steve?
No, because he's I'm pretty sure he has a leg injury, so they didn't want him running too much, so he was just blocking the whole game.
I have the real question though, Steven. Did Jack Doyle play basketball in college?
He's actually taller than Mo Alley Cox.
But did he play basketball in college? Does he know how to box out?
He's actually just as ugly as Mo Alley Cox.
He is.
I just Googled it. He did not play basketball in college.
Yeah, but he's taller.
I call bullshit. This guy's not going to beat Mo Alley Cox now. He doesn't ever play basketball. He has no idea what he's doing out there.
Do I smell a pint bet coming?
I'll take it. I think Mo Alley Cox will finish higher fantasy-wise than Jack Doyle by end of year.
Steve, that's your guy.
I know. So this is the thing. I know that's my guy, but Mo Alley already has like 25 fantasy points on him because he went off for 2 games. So I'll take it. Put it on the board. I'll take it.
Put it on the board.
On the board. So first on that waiver wire list, I'll talk on first. I'll just list them actually, and then we'll just go from there. So we have Carlos Hyde, Justin Jefferson, Mo Alley Cox, who we just talked on, T. Higgins, Claypool, and James Washington. Myles Gaskin's still out there in some leagues, and Hunter Renfrow as well. So I'll start us off here with Carlos Hyde. We talked about it in the injury report. Basically, if Chris Carson misses some time, which is possible, maybe like a week or 2, Carlos Hyde may have fantasy relevance. And you know what? I don't personally like the ad myself. I wouldn't pick him up, but you could play some solid defense by taking him off the waiver wire if the Chris Carson owner tries to pick him up, and then maybe sell him or flip him for something like small even. So that's the biggest thing I could take away from Carlos Hyde, because I don't think he's very relevant. Because I don't really think Chris Carson's been the most relevant guy either these first few weeks, just because I think, as you've seen, Russ is just going to cook. He's out there to throw the ball, and they're not much of a run-heavy offense right now. So I don't think there's much value with Hyde. I don't think there's much value because I think there'll be also Homer in. Potentially DJ Dallas this week could maybe see some potential carries finally. So yeah, more just play defense and take the guy away from potential Carson owners and maybe sell him to the Carson owners. So yeah, that's the only reason why I'd pick up Hyde. Steven, you're next.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Justin Jefferson. I think that if you're talking dynasty, he's owned because he was definitely drafted as a rookie, but we're talking redraft leagues here. And I think Justin Jefferson is going to be a nice depth piece to add because Minnesota's defense looks really rough right now, and they're only running with 2 wide receivers on the field most of the time. Their third wide receiver last week, I believe BC Johnson, he was only on the field for 8% of snaps. Now I know that you sprinkle in some other scrubs that they have. Tajay Sharp is injured, who would probably be the number one on the team because Tajay Sharp's probably the best player in the league. But between Thielen and Jefferson, they're going to be on the field a lot, and I think they're both going to have their pop out. Like Thielen went out for 100 yards in week 1. Jefferson obviously had a breakout game last week, and I think you're going to see him do that again because this Minnesota defense just cannot stop anything right now. So pick up your Justin Jefferson. I'm saying spend 30% of your fab on this kid, because if you need help at wide receiver, because I think he's going to have some big blow up games and help you win later on in the season. Mike?
Yeah, from one rookie receiver to another, T. Higgins at the start of the year was not really playing all that much, but his snaps have just drastically increased, and he got 9 targets last week. Mind you, it was only 5 completions for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns, but this guy's a monster in the red zone, and it looks like almost Joe Burrow is trusting T. Higgins almost more than AJ Green, because AJ Green's been getting a ton of targets, but just hasn't really converted many of them. T. Higgins passed him in targets, so I say T. Higgins is a nice stash. He's the same as Jefferson. He'll give you some huge games, and I did like this kid coming out of Clemson. I wasn't sure about with all the pass catchers, but it looks like he's starting to take over. Colin, your next guy?
Yeah, so we briefly touched on it. Well, I guess we actually just did a pint bet on him, but Mo Alley Cox. Basically, if you just want to reiterate, basically just go back and listen on the tight end episode. We think he could potentially have a great opportunity to potentially have an offensive role now that Paris Campbell and Pittman are going to be gone for a long term. So see if he can be of value to you if you need at least if you want to stream a tight end, he is a valuable option at this point, especially with Jack Doyle not catching the ball, as Steven touched on as well. Steve.
Sorry, I'm just editing the doc a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
So these ads.
Mo Anal Sucks Big Cox. That's a good nickname for him. Let's call him that for the rest of the time.
Yeah,
MASBC. That's his new abbreviation.
MASBC. Okay.
Yep.
Mo Anal Sucks Big Cox. Okay. So mine is kind of a double. You can pick one or the other. It's due to Deontay John. Who am I talking about?
Deontay Johnson. Yes.
Yeah.
Concussion protocol.
Yeah. Deontay Johnson.
It's all coming back. It's all coming back, right?
Oh my god! I was reading. I was too hung up on.
He's mesmerized by Mo.
I think Steve's the one with the concussion here.
I was too busy typing up Mo Anal. So
well, Steven just is mesmerized by Mo Anal's big cock. So
yeah, so
makes sense.
Okay. I was just swinging in my,
your direction.
I think it hit me. That's how I got the concussion.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so Deontay Johnson, if he's out, I think that James Washington would be my ideal pickup. But Chase Claypool would also be a nice pickup, a nice add. My number one would be Washington, but if you're gonna double down on the Canadian boy Claypool, I'm okay with that too. I know neither of them. Well, James Washington wasn't bad last game. If he puts a touchdown on his stat line, all of a sudden he's balling out. He ended up with 5 receptions, so 7 targets. So I'm pretty high on James Washington if Deontay Johnson's out. So those are my 2. You pick one or the other. I'm okay with either. Mike?
I also have 2, and it's basically more or less just if they're out there, go grab them. First one being Myles Gaskin. He had 22 carries. I know it was only 66 yards, but still 22 carries is ridiculous. He won't really get the goal line work because Jordan Howard does it because he's so good at getting just 1 yard per carry. But he also gets some targets in the receiving game. He had 5 receptions for 29 yards. Solid stuff. I mean, he's a good flex option, that's for sure. If you can't convince the James Robinson owner to give you him, maybe settle for a Myles Gaskin. They have Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, Chargers. So not the best, not the best schedule, but play them for a couple of good games. But my last one is Hunter Renfrow. I've already kind of talked on him. He went off this past week, and with them seeing more concerns in Ruggs and maybe a couple of nagging injuries on, I believe it was Jacobs and Waller who were setting out practices. Definitely got to pick up, maybe throw in your flex if you need receiving help, same as the other guys. But yeah, that's it for me. Can you guys think of anyone else?
Myles Gaskin is owned 45% of leagues right now, so over half still out there. So definitely pick him up if you can. How much money would I don't know if you guys are big Fab guys. I want to try and get to Fab, but how much Fab would you give for a Myles Gaskin share?
I think I just picked him up in a league where we do use Fab. It might have been a free pickup, but Steve, what are you thinking when?
So if you were the Saquon or the CMC, I know it's early in the year. I would spend more Fab later on in the year if one of your top end guys go down. If you're not really looking at RB, just looking for depth, I say spend 15%. So usually we run leagues with just 100 Fab just to make it easy. So $15, throw it on there. See if you can pick them up. If you're super desperate for a start at running back and you actually need them in your lineup, I'm saying spend 40-45% of your Fab at that point, because you need the start, right? You're not going to start an Ito Smith or some scrub like Boston Scott. So I'd rather have Gaskins there. So I would say if you're in desperate need of a start, probably $40 if it's 100 Fab. But if you don't really need them, I'd say around 15 to 20. Mike?
I honestly can't find them in the waivers, but I definitely agree with Steve. I'm more of a person who goes a little bit aggressive with the Fab early in the year, but that's just my strategy. I like to pick up guys that I see, and I have no problem spending Fab because you can always get free pickups later in the year. But I personally think it's a better way than the waivers because we have seen a couple years the teams not start players if they already have the win to get the lower point totals to hopefully get an easier waiver priority. But so I think it just evens it out, and there will be teams that will take advantage of it. If they are the top team, they can throw a little bit more on a guy because they already have a good team. But I personally think it's the way to go. But Colin, what are you saying?
Yeah, that's why I want to actually turn that Dynasty League me and Steven are into a Fab League, because I agree. I think it's just like, why are you rewarding the shit teams basically for lower standing? But regardless, yeah, that sounds like probably like 15 to 20%, like Steven said. Insert a boat sound. Bryce Love. Nah, I wish. We'll see if he maybe comes into the league at some point this season. But yeah, it has been a while since we mentioned his name, so I feel kind of lonely about him. So I wanted to bring him up at the end here. But yeah, Bryce Love.
Hey, before we talk ourselves out here, we talked about buying Mixon low. How do you feel about Todd Gurley right now in a redraft?
He is washed up. He looked terrible. Brian Hill actually looked electric. So
don't honestly, ever use electric with Hill.
Oh, he was. He had a big long run for a touchdown. Mind
Do you know what else is big and
Bears
long?
couldn't stop a leak, but
Mo Alley Cox's dick.
Moanal Cox.
Moanal Cox. Moanal Big
But,
Cox.
yeah, Todd Gurley's washed. Steve, I know you love him.
No, I'm trying to trade him.
He
Seeing if I
looked pretty
see if I
good
can get-
against you though. Like Mike, he had 14 carries, 80 yards, so 5.7 yards a carry and a TD. I mean,
Yeah, he had a longish touchdown, but
the only thing that sucks about Gurley is they're not using him in the passing game, which he was so effective in Los Angeles. So, yeah, I definitely would try to trade him. I agree, Mike. I wouldn't want to have him, but especially Falcons are just such a pass-heavy offense, and they're not using him in the passing game, which is really unfortunate. So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
if I had to choose between Gurley or Mixon in a redraft right now, I think I'd still stay with Gurley just because he's shown that he actually can produce fantasy value right now, while Mixon hasn't. But that's just my 2 cents on it.
if you could trade Mixon for Gurley, like if you're the Gurley owner, could get Mixon as well. If you could get Mixon for Gurley, I'd do that in a heartbeat because I think Mixon is going to be better.
In a keeper, I would.
Oh,
Then you can actually keep Mixon, which makes sense. But in a redraft, I would think I'd just be like, it doesn't matter. You're gonna get a new roster next year anyways. So I think I just hold on Gurley and see what happens for the next few weeks. Trade deadline comes, I would maybe consider it if Mixon actually shows value, but you wouldn't be able to do probably 1-for-1 at that point. But still, yeah. Let's close this one out. If Steven, do you have any more final thoughts?
No, I was just the only other person I wanted to bring up that's kind of struggling, kind of a buy low. I know we're probably going to talk buy lows next episode, but just off the top of my head, Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, it seems like Kyler's just taking his carries.
Well, Kenyon's getting a ton of carries, 16 attempts, 20 attempts, 18 attempts. It's just he's just not getting the end zone. He's rushed. I think that he rushed for 73 yards last game, but that's not amazing. He's right now ranked 28th in half PPR, so he's not doing too well. But he's getting the attempts, and that he's going to find the end zone. So I'm saying if you can get Kenyon Drake by low.
I would also for those of you that do Dynasty, Chase Edmonds would be a buy because I think he takes over next year. Like if you can buy him and hold him, like if you can buy him low and hold him, I mean, he's looking good.
They haven't signed Drake long term yet, eh?
No, he's on a transition tag from what I can see. Yeah. And he honestly could he hasn't been doing terrible. Like if you're in desperate need in a deep league, I mean, he had 13.5 points the first week, but then it's kind of averaged around 5. But he's playing about 30% of the snaps, so maybe a guy that you take a chance on. But
I actually like him as well, and even Cliff, the head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. I almost put it together again. I almost got it. He actually is really high in Chase. He came out, I think, after week 1 or 2 that he said that he's actually did he say elite? He might have said elite, which is a little aggressive, but still.
Like Joe Flacco elite?
Yeah.
Elite Flacco, baby.
Let's get done.
We'll see. So yeah, let's close this out. So thanks for everyone that listened. We appreciate it as always. Follow us on Twitter at day1football and on Instagram day1football. I actually recently changed it to day1 and then FF on Instagram just to make it different from the Twitter handle. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast. I think there's a couple other podcasters. We're all over there. We're all over. We're a legit podcast, guys. So yeah, would be really awesome. And also our YouTube channel, you can subscribe to that as well, as Mike's been posting content. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.
Down a coffee in the lobby just to shake it all off. All the cool cats from the alley seem to rally back out, but my heart, my mind, my liver his head quiet now. Almost scared to bring